Chattanooga bridal party. A year ago in March, my friends and I booked an Airbnb outside of Chattanooga to celebrate the upcoming marriage of another friend, Marcy. The house was a beautiful rancher on a nature trail along the Tennessee River, and even though it felt isolated, it was still close enough to the city that we could still go out for the night and have fun, which we did. After hitting the bars, we returned to the house and built a fire in the backyard fire pit. To say it was peaceful would be an understatement. The crackling of the fire under that big, starry sky is a memory I would carry with me forever, even if it hadn't been followed by, well, you'll see. Eventually, the late hour and all the partying caught up with us, and we decided to head to bed. The basement of the house was set up like a dorm or a hostel, with 3 sets of bunk beds plus a double, and we decided to club together there because, you know, a girls' trip. One of us even had the bright idea of throwing on a movie, but my friends fell asleep before the opening credits finished rolling. As for me, I'm more of a night person than they are, so once they dropped off, I turned out the movie, which of course hadn't been my pick, picked up my phone, and started scrolling through Twitter. As I lay there in the half-light of the television, I began to get a bad feeling. I couldn't tell you exactly what it was, or why, but something felt different, and not in a good way. Before I go further, I should explain that prior to this, I'd had one paranormal experience that had been more confusing than frightening. This was not the same. Putting my phone to the side, I scanned around the room and saw nothing out of the ordinary, so I went back to my phone, and the feeling subsided. It returned a while later, so again I set my phone aside and looked around to check on my friends. And that's when I saw it. Standing to the side of the full-size bed where Mercy was sleeping was a dark figure, its head bent down towards her. It felt as though my heart seized in my chest, and I tried to convince myself I was just seeing a shadow caused by the light streaming through the hallway door. Deep down, I knew this wasn't true. The hairs on my neck were standing up, and even before I'd caught sight of it, I felt as though something with bad intentions was near. Holding my breath, I texted my boyfriend to tell him what was going on. This was no help, as he doesn't believe in such things, and he told me it was all my imagination. I looked back towards the bed, and the figure was gone, which didn't help my panic, as it proved to me that whatever it wasn't caused by the hallway light. In a panic, I jumped out of bed and ran upstairs to the second floor, like a small child who'd just watched a horror movie. Afterward, I kept hearing what sounded like creaking from the stairs, and I tried to tell myself it was just the house settling, but it didn't do me any good. I finally had to call my boyfriend and have him talk me down, which he did. It wasn't until the creaking stopped around 4 a.m. that I was able to sleep. I didn't sleep long, and at around 6 a.m. I woke up and gathered the courage to go downstairs for my clothes. A few minutes later, Nancy, the maid of honour, came into the room looking confused. She'd asked if I'd seen Mercy come in since I'd been awake, of which of course I hadn't. Now Nancy went from confused to freaked out. She said she'd seen Mercy, or someone who looked like her, climbing the stairs from the basement to the main floor. I suggested she go and see if Marcy was still in bed, which it turned out she was. Nancy looked pale and asked for a cup of coffee that I was making. As I poured it, she started telling me she'd had a terrible night's sleep, and at one point had had a waking nightmare where she saw someone, or something, standing over Marcy's bed. My heart dropped, and it must have shown in my face, because Nancy just stared at me. She knew I'd seen it too. Needless to say, we were happy to get out, and not investigate any further. I don't know if it's related, but just a few months later, I learnt that the allegedly haunted Hales Bar is located just 2 miles downriver from this location.
Let me be the first to say what an absolute bastard you have to have someone text you in distress and for you to just go, nah, you're fine.
Another one
Clearly I'm not.
Another one of our files of shit boyfriends.
Yeah, that's a big, deep file. We could actually probably do a whole show on that.
Yes.
My next one's gonna have a shitty boyfriend.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
The great wheel keeps turning.
I was trying to look up. I've been down there to Chattanooga, Hales Bar, and I've heard the story, but I don't know it. Let's see, it's haunted. Oh, they've got it all at Hales Bar. We've got everything from Native American curse to a tunnel collapse that resulted in the death of children. We're right back where we started today, y'all. Death of children here.
Oh man, this is synchronicities all over the place. Just
It's a
the wrong kind.
TVA dam. So yeah. See, I know I've heard some of the stories, but I guess the train collapse is the one. Chattanooga, I've been down to Chattanooga a bunch. My kid really likes going to Chattanooga. Took her out to Lookout Mountain for her birthday. She wanted to go do that and go see the
Oh, okay.
what's the oh gosh, now I can't believe I can't remember what it's called, the waterfall that's underground waterfall. Ruby Falls. That's what it's
okay.
called. There's a lot of beautiful stuff out there, and Chattanooga's got a lot of outdoor kind of fun adventures that aren't quite as Smoky Mountains wilderness out there. So Chattanooga is a really, really, really pretty place and a good place to visit. I guess unless you bring your boyfriend.
Well, especially if he's a douchebag.
Yeah, don't bring him.
I'm sad to say that my only experience with Lookout Mountain is from the Drive By Truckers song.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, Drive By Truckers. That's it's Jason Isbell, right?
Is
He's
that
Drive By Truckers? No, cut that.
I think it's Patterson Hood. Might be
Is that
Patterson Hood and Jason Isbell, maybe.
It is Isbell.
I don't know. Let's find out.
Ah, fuck. He lives right here. Like, he lives a couple of miles away from me here.
I have no
He's the only
input
reason I
to
brought
this
it up.
conversation.
Man, just cut that. Man. Fuck.
You're not going to weigh in on Drive By Truckers, Paul?
Yes. Along with
Yeehaw. Let's get some hillbilly rock music.
cars and country music are two things I know equally less about. In fact, I probably know more about country music than cars.
So Jason Isbell, he was in DBT from 01 to 07, which probably explains why their best albums were in 01 to 07, because I haven't enjoyed a Drive By Truckers album since Where the Devil Don't Stay.
Yeah, I'll be honest, and maybe this says more about me and my getting older and not paying attention to music, but I thought the Drive By Truckers were done after Jason Isbell. So, yeah, but he's become very popular down here. I mean, he's very, very popular around here. Like I said, he lives close to where I'm at, so he's, obviously, but
Even I've heard of Jason Isbell.
yeah. He's,
okay, so my mistake. That was Dirty South. It was Decoration Day and Dirty South are my two favorite Drive By Truckers albums. And yeah, it looks like Isbell left after Dirty South, which again explains a lot, because I saw them in I want to say 2010 or something like that. I saw them in Vancouver, and I wasn't really impressed. And they're not bad or anything. I haven't loved an album since Dirty South.
Yeah, Dirty South.
I have to know, as a Southerner, does that kind of stuff annoy you? Does it annoy you when other Southerners lean into those tropes? Because I know I get pissed off. Okay.
No, look at what I do. I mean, look at me. I look like a dirty Southerner, man. I mean, like, I think it depends. Those tropes it's interesting how the tropes are embraced in different places differently. Like, Atlanta, that's like hip hop culture, Dirty South.
Of course, right? Yeah.
And, and just so it's embraced differently where you're at around here. My problem when it comes to tropes and things, I think, Jason Isbell is a really good example of this, right? Because, that dude is hillbilly AF, man, when it comes down to it. You hear him talk, you hear all that. He's from Muscle Shoals down there, so he is Alabama, thick as mud type, right? He sounds like it, and all that. But, he is also, part of his shtick even at this point is he's incredibly progressive.
Right.
Incredibly intelligent as well, well-spoken, very active progressively, right? So it's this kind of, here's a guy who comes from this background and embraces this kind of thing at the same time. And, I tell people, even with what I do, you can, if you come to like one of my shows or something, I even embrace kind of some of that, the mannerisms, even in my podcast, you'll hear words that, folks and y'all. I mean, I don't do that. I do that because it feels natural to lean into. It feels right. But
Right.
when I started my show, one of the main things that we wanted to do, because it's kind of a history show first rather than straight paranormal, right?
Sure.
It's more, I take old folklore and take these hauntings and I talk about the historical context and I treat it almost like a travel show in some regards, right? And my thought was I'm going to take these nuggets and these things that like your mama told you growing up and I'm going to give you like what really happened there, but I wanted to make sure when I presented it that it sounded like you were hearing the story the way your mama or papa told you, right? So I was
Right.
going to lean into this sounds like storytelling the way your grandparents do it, except I'm going to make sure that I make sure the vitamins and the meat or whatever is in there, which
Right.
is, probably a nicer way of like, I'm going to tell these things and it's not going to be racist. Maybe that's really, but, like, I feel like I've done this fantastic job because what
Yes.
ends up happening is I'll put out some shows sometimes that I will get a mean review from somebody saying like that I'm glorifying something of this Southern culture. That's something, right? And typically it has to do with Civil War related episodes. Okay.
Right.
And then at the same time, I mean, almost par for the course. Okay. There's a Robert E. Lee one recently that I got where I was talking about the history of this cemetery, of this national cemetery that was built on Robert. Anyway, somebody leaves me a review or something, tell me I'm glorifying a traitor, Well, then I get an email later telling me that I'm calling him a traitor, and like, so like, I felt like this was a proof in some ways of what I was doing was the storytelling was confusing this guy over here who is that racist trope that was living, the kind of hillbilly old Confederate, keep it alive, still wants to listen to me, or still listening to, because he feels comfortable here to do it versus that. So I mean, I can't knock anybody else from leaning into it. I think it feels comfortable to me. It does. It feels comfortable. It's for better or worse. you
No,
know?
that's fair. I mean, to be totally clear, I also realize that my stupid brain has really picked up just in the couple minutes we've been talking some speech patterns from you because I realized I dropped a y'all in the A segment, and as I was saying
Yeah.
it, I thought, where the fuck did that come from? And I realized, okay, no, that's on Brendan.
Well, I feel comfortable with y'all because my New Orleans accent, the way I say like out sounds more like, doesn't sound Southern. It sounds like, up where you're at, Brent, the out about, like, I mean,
A boot.
I had a Canadian music teacher in college that always looked at me like, oh, like, like, oh, maybe where are you from?
Where you from, eh?
Hey,
Whereas we say, get out, get out. That's how we
I don't know
pronounce
that one.
out. That's how we pronounce out.
Get out.
Get
I
out.
like that better.
Get out.
Get out.
get out.
Get out.
I can't even.
Get out. Get out. Get out.
Oh, I just watched that movie the other day too. That was pretty good. That you
Yeah.
talk
Also,
about
yeah.
a Southern, like, you talk about the Southern tropes with all those people there, but I mean, they nailed it. They eviscerated it for sure.
Yeah. Brilliant
You
film.
know?
Fabulous. I went to see a lecture 3 or 4 years ago by a American professor who teaches cinema down south somewhere, and he did an hour long presentation pulling back the whole secret messages throughout Get Out, and it just blew
Oh,
my
cool.
mind. It blew my,
Really?
like even the bit where he's picking the cotton out the chair when he's stuck in the chair. It's when the bit where he's picking the cotton. That's telling you exactly what he's that afraid. That's how he's feeling. That's resonating through his past. And I was just like,
Oh, man.
what?
Yeah.
Loads of stuff. Like even the songs and how the song was used, the Run Rabbit Run song, and how it obviously got changed over the years from what its original version and everything.
Oh,
Stuff
yeah.
I had no concept of, Brandon. It was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's a lot of what I say when I do tell ghost stories and stuff down here. I will frequently point out that I can tell you what decade sometimes or period a ghost story was developed almost based on these stereotypes of the people in it at this point, that there's just certain trends that happen here based on the racial stereotype or based on the stereotype of, the poorer person who's involved in it or the type of violence. And because of just, what unfolded here,
Yeah. Well, I've learnt more about the Southern States in 2 years of listening to your show than I've learnt in 48 years, Brandon. So congratulations.
Oh, you're my one overseas listener. No, I've got two, y'all. No.
That's because I listened to it twice.
Oh, man.
Get out. Out.
Get out.
Get out.
I like that better.
Out. Get out.
Get out.
Get out.
Get out.
I can't even.
Get out.
Out.
Get out. Get out. Get out.